What's up, everybody? It's Alex from Heavy New York. We are back at the Gramercy Theater for the third time this week, and today we got an awesome lineup. We got Amorphous, Dark Tranquility, Moonspell, and of course, Omnium Gatherum. Thank you guys for being here.
Yes. Thank you. Nice to be here.
Thank you.
Yes. Thank you so much for your time today. The Burning Cold is your latest record. How was the making of it?
It was great, as always. Kind of easy album to make.
Really?
Born really naturally, and we had a good time, so stars were aligned during these sessions.
Really?
Yeah, it was pretty good, sometimes it's kind of like, you really have to think about it, where is the thing going, but for this time it just like happened, like on itself, basically. We didn't have any problems, which is kind of new thing for us, because there's usually some kinds of like, bumps in the way, but for this time it just flowed.
Really?
Yeah.
So there was no like preconceived idea with this record? Everything just happened organically?
We're just like, we're thinking after the Grey Heavens album, like I was saying to Marcus, like, I'm really emptied out after this. I don't have no idea what we're going to do next. And Marcus was saying the same thing, me too, but then it just kind of like, just wrote itself, really, like when time went on.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting because Omnium Gatherum, I've always thought, really had its own sound of combining like melodic death metal with progressive metal. So does Omnium Gatherum like to experiment with different sounds, or do you guys have like a usual sound that you like to stick with?
I guess we have been doing this so long already. We are all already over 20 years been doing this under the name of Omnium Gatherum, so we pretty much know what the band is about and the merits of aggression and melodies, so we kind of know what we are doing and kind of have the traditional brand sound. And
Yeah.
so it's when we all have discovered this over the years, now it just flows, and like you said, comes organically, honestly, easily. Not easily, art is never easy, it's always pain to work with sometimes, but this album was pretty easy to do. I think we had same kind of mood when we were doing the album New World Shadows. Things
really?
just like flowing easily, and creative choices were around, and
Yeah.
so it's like a continuum for New World Shadows, in my feeling.
Was this intended like conceptually to be like a follow-up to your previous record, or did you want this record to kind of stand out on its own?
Well, I think both, basically, because we have this like red thread going on from album to album. Every album is like an original composing, of course, but with this one, we just really like to mix those like earlier influences we had when we were making the songs for the previous albums, and for that reason, maybe it just felt that this is so easy to do in a way. So it's really hard to say, because there is a follow-up to the previous works that we have done, but each and every album in itself still is like a unique and in its own way. So it's kind of like both in a way.
So would you say, if you had to say, would you say that there's always an element that ties everything in your discography together, or does each record sort of stand out in a way?
Each record is always the pathway to the next record. So if you're like now listening our first record, Speech and August Light, which was released 15 years ago, it's completely different band, completely different sound, but when you listen to albums one by one, it's like the pathways to another. So there's a thin red line coming from album to album.
Yeah,
always
you can have,
following.
you can have like a correlations between the albums, but still they do stand out, because like Marcus said, it's a different time and a different place when you come up with those new riffs, new melodies, new lyrics, new concepts and stuff like that. So there is no way that they would follow up like this is for that and that's for that. So they are unique, but still there is that like logic between the continuum between the albums. Yes.
Oh, that's really interesting how each album stands out but does work well together. It's not like you make too many drastic changes.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Maybe this time it was like maybe more stress-free kind of session, also writing-wise. Just doing like songs, catchy songs, not like trying to do anything that you are not feeling yourself okay with. Just like music is a selfistic thing. You have to please yourself and please your mates in the band, and usually if you do it honestly and well, then fans will love it.
Yeah, definitely. Now, this could just be my interpretation of your music, but like the first Omnium Gatherum song I've ever heard was The Unknowing, and like it seems like your music does have like a narrative and a story that it tells. Is there like a story or a concept that the band thinks of and writes music according to that, or are lyrics just kind of like the last thing and added on?
Well, I think it's usually with me and Marcus. It's like Marcus comes up with this kind of like basic ideas and riffs and demos and stuff, and starts sending them to me, and then something starts to happen with me, and I will like getting to the mood of the new riffs and stuff, and then trying to come up with the kind of like concept that reacts with those melodies and riffs. And sometimes, for me with the Beyond album back in 2013, it was really hard to. I really loved the stuff that Marcus was sending me, but it was really hard for me to come up with different kinds of concepts, because I always like to talk about similar kinds of things from album to album, but still try to generate something new and some new and fresh perspective, like lyrically speaking. So there is no like standing theme between the albums, but still they have like if you read the lyrics from album to album, you can have you can like spot a lot of similarities and same kinds of themes that are there, but they stand individually. It's like in movies that you can watch like a sequel from a movie, but it still works on its own.
Yeah, that's a really good analogy. Now, Marcus, one question I wanted to have you, I didn't want to touch too much upon it, but I know that you also play in Insomnium, and I was just curious does maybe working with Insomnium ever allow you to bring in some other elements to Omnium Gatherum or vice versa?
Yes, I would think on the Burning Cold album, one of the main lines why there is only like a shorter catchy songs. There's only like 4 or 5 minute songs in this album. Usually we've been having like some more epic 10-minute songs, but the last album we did with Insomnium was this 40-minute epic storm or whatever.
40 minutes, a 40-minute album.
40-minute hit summer single.
Yeah.
So kind of I wanted to do something completely different with this one and not do like a long epic songs and just concentrate on making catchy, in your face, short songs.
Yeah.
And that was like my personal concept for making music on this album. Kind of subconsciously. It just happens. I didn't think it that much, but
yeah, it's interesting, actually. Now, you kind of, in a way, just answered my next question, because going to the whole epic 10-minute song, I love asking bands that write long songs this, how do you know when a song is done? Because you take like a hardcore band, they're cool with a song being just 50 seconds long, and then, you guys having 6-minute, 10-minute songs. How do you know when you could say a song is finished?
it's like a story to tell. You somehow know when it's still unfinished and you need to put something more, and I don't know, it's a gut feeling.
Really? Do you just like it's like a feeling that you have, or you like have to say we have enough guitar riffs here, enough lyrics here?
Yeah, I tend to write music when I do songs. I listen a lot, so many times these raw sketches I have. I just first play them, arrange them, and then I'm just starting to listen them, and then just have a pause, listen them more, and then you just try to take yourself off from the song and just to be a listener, and then you can just find out what this song needs still. And in my opinion, it would be stupid to do like a song to be a long song just to be a long song.
Yes. You could tell that sometimes like they make the song extra long just for the sake of filling up space, right?
Yeah, it's make songs, but
yeah. Now, obviously, this is my favorite question to have, because this is like for a lot of fans of European metal, this is like a dream lineup for people. So, coming from Finland, which is considered, I mean, Obama even mentioned it in his speech that Finland has the most heavy metal bands in the world.
Yeah.
So, would you say that because I mean, Lost Society told me that per square kilometer, there's 2 metal bands in all of Finland. So, like, would it be easier to start a metal band in Finland just because of the history and everything there?
Well, it could be, but I think like also it adds like a higher standards for people to start. They are enthusiastic at first, but because the quality and the amount of band in itself is so vast, so you have to be really like you can't do shit. Of course you can do shit, but then you don't get anywhere. So you have to be like standards. Standards have to be really high, and you have to like commit yourself to it to make, because otherwise you'll be like in the mud basically. So you might have the opportunities and the background of like Finnish metal tradition, but still it's also like a strain, because you really have to like put yourself out there and make good like metal music to be able to make it even in Finland.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because I've noticed that while Finland has like so many metal bands, it's also very diverse. Like you guys are very different from Korpiklani, which is very different from Him, which is very different from Nightwish. I'd imagine that like there's a variety of different bands you could play with in Finland alone, right?
Yeah, there's a lot of variety, but there's also, I would say, the Finnish kind of same sound in every metal band, which is a bit like a melancholy key. Finnish mentality is a bit like a minor key melancholy.
Is that just from lack of sunlight there?
Could be.
Could be. If, well, Mexicans have mariachi bands. It would be weird having like a Finnish mariachi band, because it's completely different atmosphere in the country. So
Let's hope people watching this now are starting that right now. There is a band, Piñata Protest, that and Brujeria that combine like that Mexican style with heavy music. So it
That's
can
awesome.
Yeah, it can be done. Piñata Protest. There were people doing conga lines in the mosh pit.
yeah,
Fucking
and I also once got from my friend as a birthday present like some Brazilian. I think it was from Chile, like black metal band from Chile, no names, but they were singing in Norwegian language and singing about the winter and the winter frost and darkness, and it just feels a little bit weird, like there's some Indian-looking guy singing about darkness and winter. It would be same like us being the mariachi band. It would be a little bit wrong. It's okay, but you still sense it. This is not completely okay.
But at the same time, I think like that like brings people like closer to each other, to be able to get like good kind of vibrations from different cultures, not like stealing stuff, but like to appreciate the culture that you are really enthusiastic about.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. Like a lot of bands who utilize our culture. Like I know people who are obsessed with pirates just because they discovered Elstorm, and people like who are obsessed with like Terminator and technology because of Fear Factory. So it's interesting that like
People obsessed with Kalevala, Finnish folklore book, because of Amorphis, who is doing sound check upstairs.
Yeah, definitely.
So
Definitely. You won't be able to hear that, but it sounds awesome.
it was also Kalevala from Amorphis for me was also because we had to read this Finnish folklore book Kalevala back in the day in the school when I was something like 13 years old, and I didn't give a shit about that book before I heard the Tales from the Thousand Lake by Amorphis, which was my favorite album back at the time, and they were singing from Kalevala, and then immediately my school rates from this Finnish class was going uphill because I just was so interested about Kalevala because of Amorphis.
Did you see that picture somebody posted? I got an A+ on my World War II test because of Sabaton.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Whoa, that's amazing, because that kind of things, it's like with computer games in Finland, like like little kids that they try to learn English language in school, and when they play games which are in English, it just goes better and better and better. So I think it's like with music, it's the same thing. Like it like enhances one's like probability to learn stuff. Like when you're interested about it, of course, you're gonna get better with it.
Definitely. Especially with, like people know the Lake Bodom murders because of fellow Finnish children
exactly.
of Bodom. So just like small things in there get people interested.
Yeah, that's the way.
Yeah. And the final question I wanted to ask you is, because Omnium Gatherum definitely has a great sound of pure heaviness, but it's also very, very melodic. Do you think that this could allow you, because you're playing, like, this is fairly an easy tour. I think everybody who's coming to the show tonight can appreciate all 4 bands, but you could definitely tour with a variety of different bands, right? Because of your very melodic and heavy sound.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like last time we were in US, we were touring with Sonata Arctica, and
Wow.
then last year we were touring with Amon Amarth in Europe, so and Skalmöld, which is more like folk Viking stuff. So it kind of relates this aggression meets melodic thing.
Yeah.
Back
Yeah.
in the day, I remember we had this problem with our fans that, or not our fans, like the metal field, like most people felt in the death metal field felt like we are too melodic, and then on the melodic metal field they felt we are too aggressive. But we're now just doing it year after year, and now people we've been gathering the masses
Yeah.
Yeah.
from the both groups.
Yeah. You wanted to say?
I was just saying, just like, kind of like Finnish thing called sisu, you just have to push it and push it and push it, and to be able to bring like fresh perspective, in our opinion, to the whole metal scene. I think that people will appreciate it and see that we do it with our heart, and that's the only thing, because this is the kind of music we really want to make.
Quote my favorite band of all times. It's
Yeah.
the Sound of Perseverance.
Nice.
Mhm.
Nice. Well, I want to thank you guys so much for your time. Just before we go, you're doing this awesome tour with Dark Tranquility, Amorphous, and Moonspell. First night of the tour, The Burning Cold is now. It's a brand new record cycle. What could we be expecting from Omnium Gatherum for the rest of 2018 and 2019?
Touring.
Exactly.
Yeah,
And then more new metal. After all.
of course. You
Uh-huh.
can never have too much metal.
Exactly.
Yeah. I'm guessing that there are tours confirmed. You just can't say, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. They're gonna tell me when the camera stops rolling. But thank you guys so much for your time. Everybody,
Thank
we are
you.
here with Omnium Gatherum. Pick up The Burning Cold. It is absolutely awesome. This is Alex from Heavy New York. We'll see you next time.
Yeah, stay metal.
Hell yeah.